December 1945, Tokyo. The phone rang inside General Douglas MacArthur's headquarters. The message was short. George Patton was dead. Just months earlier, the war had ended. America was celebrating victory. Now one of its most aggressive commanders was gone. MacArthur didn't react the way people expected. There was no heroic speech, no formal praise. Instead, he said something quietly, something that almost no one heard at the time. Words that later shocked historians, because they revealed what Patton truly meant to the men who fought at the highest level of the war. To understand those words, we have to step back into the world they lived in, into a war where speed meant survival and hesitation meant death. MacArthur and Patton were completely different men. MacArthur was calm, political, strategic. He thought in years, in continents. Patton thought in hours, in miles. Where MacArthur planned carefully, Patton attacked without hesitation. Where one built long campaigns, the other broke enemy lines through sheer momentum. But despite their differences, they believed in the same truth about war. War was won by movement, by striking first, by never giving the enemy time to recover. Speed created fear. Fear created collapse. This was what made them respect each other, even while fighting on opposite sides of the world. Long before Patton became famous across Europe, his way of fighting was already becoming legendary. He pushed his men harder than any other commander. He drove his armored columns day and night. When fuel ran low, he didn't stop. When supplies fell behind, he kept advancing. Patton believed momentum was more important than comfort. Later, officers who served under him wrote in their diaries, "Patton fought as if every single hour could decide the war." This kind of warfare was risky. Men were exhausted. Machines broke down. But it worked. Enemy lines collapsed under the pressure, and commanders watching from afar, including MacArthur, took notice. MacArthur and Patton never fought side by side, but they believed in the same kind of war. Fast, relentless, always forward. And that shared mindset is exactly what made MacArthur watch Patton so closely. Even from the other side of the world. While Patton was tearing across France, MacArthur was fighting island by island in the Pacific. Different enemies, different terrain, but the same philosophy: hit hard, move fast, never give the enemy time to recover. Military reports from 1944 show MacArthur repeatedly praising aggressive commanders, and Patton was often mentioned as the best example in Europe. Not for politics, not for speeches, but for results. But Patton's way of fighting came at a heavy price. Casualties were high. Men were pushed to their limits. Some generals openly criticized him. Others feared the speed he demanded. But whenever a breakthrough was needed, Patton was the one they sent in. As one Allied officer later wrote, "When nothing else worked, they called Patton." December 1945. The war was over. Germany had surrendered. Victory parades were filling the streets. And then the news came. George Patton was dead. Not in battle, not leading an attack, but after a sudden car accident in Germany. To the public, it was a tragic loss. To politicians, it became another headline. But to the men who had fought under him, it felt like losing a weapon, a force of momentum, a commander who never stopped moving. When Patton died, commanders didn't just lose a man, they lost momentum itself. According to officers who were inside headquarters that day, MacArthur didn't speak right away. He stood still. The room was quiet. Maps of the Pacific still covered the walls. Reports lay open on the table. Then MacArthur slowly looked up and said, Patton was the kind of commander wars are won with. No emotion in his voice, no performance, just a statement of fact. The kind of truth soldiers rarely said out loud. One officer later wrote that no one in the room replied. They didn't need to. Everyone understood what it meant. After a long pause, MacArthur reportedly added, "He understood movement better than anyone we had." Coming from a man known for caution, planning, and control, this was extraordinary praise. MacArthur was not someone who admired recklessness. He admired results, and in his eyes, Patton delivered them better than anyone else. In that moment, it became clear. Patton wasn't just brave. He wasn't just aggressive. He was essential. MacArthur was not impressed by loud personalities. He didn't care about speeches. He didn't care about headlines. What he respected was effectiveness, results, speed. And Patton delivered all three better than anyone else in the Allied command. Where other generals needed weeks, Patton needed days. Where others paused to reorganize, Patton pushed forward. His relentless pressure broke German defenses again and again. Military historians later calculated that Patton's rapid advances shortened the war in Western Europe by months. Months of fighting that never happened. Months of bombing. Months of casualties that were avoided. In the long run, Patton's aggression didn't cost lives. It saved them. That is why even the calmest, most cautious commanders respected him. Not as a showman, not as a troublemaker, but as a force that changed the pace of war itself. A weapon aimed straight at victory. Patton was never an easy man to follow. He was demanding. He was relentless. He pushed soldiers harder than most commanders ever dared, but he changed the speed of war. Before Patton, advances were careful. After Patton, they were unstoppable. He proved that momentum could break armies faster than firepower alone. MacArthur understood that. That is why his words carried such weight. When Patton died, it wasn't just a general that was lost. It was one of the sharpest weapons the Allies had. A commander who turned pressure into victory and movement into collapse for the enemy. That is what MacArthur truly meant. If real history matters to you, not movie versions, support the channel and subscribe. Here we talk about World War II without myths. And if your family ever shared stories from the war, write them in the comments. Real memories matter. Thank you for watching.